What's up, everyone, and welcome to Variant the Podcast.
The semi-annual edition.
Yeah, the Christmas special. Wrapping it up.
Yeah, let's wrap up this freaking beast. No doubt. 2022. Love you.
What a year.
We're really sad to see you go.
But yeah, we figured we'd jump on here and wrap up the year with a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an interesting year all the way around, I think, for everybody. That includes all of us here. As you guys know, we have not been regular on the podcast, but we wanted to come on and wrap up the year. Say thank you to all of you guys out there who have stuck with us once again this year, both on the main channel and here on the podcast, and been patient with us as we've been kind of working through some things. And talk about some of the stuff that's been going on over the last few weeks, because there has been, the hierarchy of power in DC did in fact change.
It did, literally.
It did in fact change.
Literally.
It turns out just not the way we thought. So, we wanted to come on and talk about all of the stuff that's going on at DC and at Marvel, because then Disney, there's been some shakeups at Disney, and those are going to have huge ramifications for Marvel. You're already hearing a bunch of rumors come out, including Chris Hemsworth himself talking about he'd be interested in seeing if he does come back as Thor, he wants to see that change. So
Don't get me started on Love and Thunder.
Oh man,
don't get me started on Love and Thunder.
So there's some stuff to talk about, and as I mentioned, this year has been weird, a little bit of a weird one, kind of all the way around.
I think I was talking about this with someone the other day. It's because it's the first year back to normalcy, like really. So everyone's fully getting adjusted to normal life. So hopefully 2023 is just normal and no one's it's an adjusting phase.
I'm not buying it.
You're not buying it?
I'm not.
Hey man,
I'm ready for anything at this point. I feel like a military veteran who's been through the war, went through the jungle.
You're jaded now.
Well, we are actually wrapping up our year here. This is one of the last couple of days for us here in studio, because we every year, as you guys know, for those of you who have been with us for a very long time, we at the end of the year we send everybody home for a couple of weeks to kind of refresh and be with family and get so we can all start back with a sane brain in the new year. So we're about to head out. So we're ready to go. We're all ready to go.
Are you tired?
I'm so tired.
It's always funny too, the last week or few days or day or whatever. It's your brain is already checked out.
Yeah.
Your brain's over here, but you're still trying to finish stuff out, and you're but you don't care. You kind of don't care.
Dude, the amount, I'm not even joking. I think it takes more discipline and willpower to push through and get things done in the last, say, 2 weeks of the work year than at any other time. Because, if especially this year, I did not take a vacation this year at all. And so it was just a particularly stressful year. It was a lot of things that went on.
Well, you take vacations are a thing?
Used to be. There was a time.
A vacation?
There was a time.
You can go to the beach and
I
stuff
actually
like
haven't
that?
taken a vacation in years, plural.
Last time I took a vacation was before my 5-year-old was born. So
you took a small vacation this year.
Where?
When you went to Great Wolf Lodge with the family.
Yeah, it was like a staycation. I mean, it was still in Texas.
It was 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I guess.
So, but yeah, it's everybody's ready for a break and a rest. But definitely there has been the most interesting stuff, obviously, and that's gone on over the last few weeks, has been the DC stuff.
What DC stuff?
There was a couple of things happen, and some new guy who was trying to institute some new hierarchy or so we're told. I keep going back to it because it's so incredible to me that we spent a year with The Rock talking about the hierarchy of power.
Oh, God, more than that since
and all this kind
the
of
2020 fandom.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And now the Black Adam comes out. It's a flop. It's a major flop.
I don't think
for multiple reasons.
The movie was entertaining. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it was amazing. I don't think it sucked. I liked it. I don't think it deserves the hate it's getting. It's just it didn't fit into the grand scheme of things, I suppose.
I think that it's kind of mixed. I think most people just don't care.
Yeah, they're just done with the Snyderverse, which is why it makes all the sense in the world for James Gunn and Peter Safran, the new heads of DC Studios, to just reboot it.
Well, let's
reboot it.
Let's start here. Let's start with what do you think, as far as everything that's gone on at DC? What do you think about what's happened, and why do you think it's happened the way that it's gone down?
Well, to get everyone up to speed, long story short, James Gunn, Peter Safran, and the new co-heads of DC Studios, they came in and basically Cavill's out. Wonder Woman 3 is not happening. So Gal Gadot's pretty much out. Rumors the Lobo is going to be Jason Momoa going forward. He's no longer going to be Aquaman. It's going to be a swung song, so to speak. Lots of changes up there. Ben Affleck's going to direct a possible DC movie in the future. So basically, in there, they're like, hey, look at all this stuff. Look at all the stuff that doesn't make sense. You didn't like the first Suicide Squad, so I did another Suicide Squad where I kept the characters you did like. But then you also didn't like the Joker from the first Suicide Squad, but then Snyder still kept that version of the Joker in his movie. Like, there's just so many stuff. You liked Aquaman, but we can't use Amber Heard because she's in legal trouble. We kind of like The Flash. We were going to do cool things with him, but we also can't use him because he's in a lot of legal trouble. So there's just like so much things going on that it makes all that to say, it makes all the sense in the world. If you're put in charge of something, like take the fanness out of it, like the fanboy, whatever. I like Batman. I want to see Cavill. Take all that out. If Warner Brothers is like, you're in charge of this, you have to make it cohesive. This rests on your shoulders, or you're not. We're gonna kick you to the curb and find someone else in 4 years. The easiest thing to do is reset. You have to stop trying to put Band-Aids on a wound and just be like a phoenix, die and be reborn.
Yep.
Like so, I'm very sad to see Cavill go. I'll be very sad to see Gal Gadot go, and I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman and stuff like that. I'll be very sad to see several pieces go, but I think big picture, it is definitely for the best. You have to. There's just too much continuity issues, too much bad memories that tied to certain things that they just try. It's just too much, too much. Blank slate. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, for me, this was the only way to go. I've said as far as Black Adam goes, I think that's a different animal. Everything that happened around Black Adam, I think that's kind of an animal of its own to some degree. It was like a last ditch effort to try to save something that was just on its deathbed, and they were never going to be able to save it. It was going to, anyway. But the broader DC thing, this has been kind of my perspective on it for long time now, long before during when the release the Snyder Cut stuff was in the middle of its peak.
I still think I will add real quick. I still think they should use Flash to be the explanation for the reboot, for just everything resetting, just because it would give some sort of transition in the sense where like you would be able to please like the Snyder fans in the sense where like this is the bookend where it's like this is why everything's reset, and then just all new Justice League, all new actors, all new continuity because the Flash reset everything.
Well, the problem with that is that they have Aquaman coming out after the Flash.
But these movies have played shuffle so much they could easily go whoop.
They could. I would not. That would. I mean, for me, I would disagree.
I think you would have your cake and eat it because you would be ending it definitively.
Just let them, because you've already told the fan base that these movies don't matter anymore.
Yeah, and you still would.
And nobody. It's clear after Black Adam, like nobody cares. Like the fan base is largely checked out. There's going to be people that like Jason Momoa Aquaman. There's going to be people that like the Flash. They're going to and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be these pockets of fans that are going to be really passionate about these things. No, you're crazy, and that's fine. But the reality is, like, the box office tells the story. What happened with Black Adam is like the fans basically saying, "You guys made a huge mess of this. We see that this is not going to get fixed in any way that is satisfactory to the people that were real big fans of what Zack Snyder was doing." So they're kind of checked out. Especially, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of what they were doing with Black Adam and The Rock. I just don't think a lot of fans were buying into what The Rock was bringing to the table.
The hierarchy of power?
That was my concern. Yeah. That was my concern when they cast him.
I remember just jokingly when that like tagline came out, I was like, Are you saying you're higher than Superman? Like the nerd in me was like, the balls.
And immediately it became this whole he wants to challenge Superman thing, right? When he's a DC villain anti-hero, but he is a Shazam. First and foremost, he's a Shazam villain.
I've been saying that forever. I tell you off camera, on camera, I still think he should have appeared in Shazam first before the Game of Solo movie. I will stick with it just because we know him in the comic books. The general audience did like Black Adam, and I know Guardians of the Galaxy was the same. They were like D-list characters, correct? But let's be honest. Black Adam was never going to do or be the kind of movie the first Guardians of the Galaxy was.
No.
Because that was just a well-written, all-around good ensemble.
Yeah, I think there was just a lot going on there. I personally don't think it was a big deal that they went with a solo Black Adam movie. I think the casting was the problem.
You know why? You know what? I just figured out because we've been talking about this a lot again, off camera and on. I just pinpointed why it bugs me so much. I think the reason why it bugs me that he got a solo film instead of being in Shazam is because we got a Shazam movie first.
Right.
Because so you already said that Shazam exists. You have a whole movie that a lot of people really, that was one of the better movies of the DCEU, liked. Then you're going to introduce Shazam and not have him, introduce Black Adam and not have him connected to Shazam. Right. That I think is what's bothering me. It's like if you would have done it first without Shazam and then connect them, but like you already have established Shazam.
Yep.
How can you introduce Black Adam and not have him linked to Shazam at all?
Yeah.
That's like introducing like, you know, I don't know, like doing the whole Batman Joker thing. It's like you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. I think it's a fair critique. And they definitely had, I mean, part of it, I believe, was they weren't sure how Shazam was going to perform. They didn't know how the audience was going to, which is, I think, why they put such a small budget into it.
Well, not Cavill. The Rock also turned down a cameo for Shazam too.
Oh, yeah.
What does that say?
But that tells you, again,
what does that say?
That speaks, though, to what my original issue was with them casting The Rock.
He didn't want to be connected to it.
You weren't just getting The Rock playing Black Adam, which is already a kind of a, how is this going to go casting? Because The Rock is The Rock all the time. He's a very specific, it's like casting Arnold Schwarzenegger in a role.
Right.
Right? Or Sylvester Stallone. It's you know what you're getting. You're not getting any dynamic
action
range.
stars, though fun. They're very
it's very one-dimensional. And The Rock is particularly so. In that particular role, I think they would have been better served going and getting an actor that was very specific to Black Adam to tell the stories of Black Adam. But because you got The Rock came in with a set of things he wanted to see the character do, as opposed to being true to the comics, because he was more interested in that serving his brand
for sure
than the other way around.
Well, he's been attached to this movie for 15, 13 years, over a decade.
And the way this whole thing has gone, I said it right out of the gate, no one looks worse in this whole scenario than The Rock. He was
quiet.
This is more embarrassing for The Rock than anyone.
He went quiet.
And to some degree, at least, I think it's his, it falls on his shoulders. They went out and made a whole bunch of promises. I think he was hoping to leverage. He and his team, his production team, I think they smelled blood in the water early on, going back a couple of years now when they were in the middle of all the Zack Snyder madness that was going on and all the upheaval at DC. There was a lot of confusion and there was a lot of weakness there.
I want to hear Snyder's comments on.
And I think he was trying to leverage that to build his brand and become a power player inside a massive franchise. And it didn't turn out. The fans did not bite. And he went and did the whole Cavill thing. It was like when they leaked and spoiled the whole Cavill thing at the end of the Black Adam movie. We came on and were like, why would you do that? And I said then, this was like a panic move. This was some kind of a panic sell.
Did it work?
Because they were seeing that the numbers didn't do. What we found out after the fact now is that Cavill did a verbal agreement. He had no contract in place.
Well, they said that. They've for a while they said that, which is what was making fans nervous. That like, cause Cavill said there was nothing signed early on.
Well, after the fact. I'm talking because
you mean after they
after the announcements.
Well, once he started doing interviews, he's like, well, there's nothing set in place yet.
Because we got the announcement first, then we got the movie, then we found out more details.
Yeah, he was doing interviews for that Netflix movie that he had. Yeah,
but all of the initial excitement was, oh my gosh, Superman is back, right? That was the big, and they were hoping that was going to be because they were seeing that Black Adam by itself.
I feel the
was
worst
not
for
a draw.
Like,
you feel the worst for him.
He took, because like we're never gonna know unless you know Cavill personally. You know you're in his camp, but like rumors have it that he left Witcher season 3 because of creative differences, because they were going away from the books and stuff like that. But also because if he was gonna be Superman going forward, Superman's gonna take up a big. He loves the character. He's a real big nerd. Right. Like he builds his own gaming computers. He plays Warhammer. Like he loves The Witcher. Like he's an actual nerd. So I'm sure he's like, oh yeah, I get to be Superman again for the next like however years. Sure, yeah. They'll let me put my input and give us that hopeful Superman. Sure. So I'm sure that was part of the reason. So like. He went to social media. He said in October, heads Warner Brothers said, you're okay to talk about it. In October. Month and a half, 2 months later, They're like, he gets
Had him
he-
announce
he-
it on Instagram, the whole deal.
He made a video and everything.
Yeah.
Then he gets called in by the new heads of the studio, of the DC studios, which is Safran and Gunn. And they're like, yeah, so we're going to go with a younger Superman. We're rebooting everything, but we may have a role for you in the future, work something out. And, I'm sure things were said behind the scenes that we'll never know because they had to smooth things over. Like, look, I know you said it's just going to make you look real dumb because you already told the world. So we'll give you this, this, and this, and this. Just don't do anything on social media.
And I don't know if it was some kind of a situation where behind the scenes, The Rock, Zaslav, the head of Discovery, went to them and said, "Hey,
Zazzy baby?
Yeah, we're bringing in new hires and we're going to clear the slate. And Black Adam's is only going to get one film." And The Rock's response to that was something to the effect of, "Hold on, this can still be a success. It's just that we weren't giving the fans what they want. Let me do this and show you that it can be a success and we can salvage it." And the whole thing. And he said, "Okay, you get one movie. I'll give you what you want. I'll let you go ahead.
It doesn't make it the money, yeah.
And if it doesn't perform, then we're moving forward with this plan." and that was just the death nail. Because if the Black Adam movie came out and made like $1 billion, right? And the fan response to Henry Cavill becomes Superman again was just absolutely overwhelming. I don't think that this would have gone this way.
I'm also wondering, because people were like, there's a hashtag trending at the time of doing this, fire James Gunn. Which of course, it's like friggin' everyone it's like, yes, because it was his fault. He's actually doing the thing that's probably best in the long term.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And
but
for me,
what if it was Zaslav too? Like what if Zaslav's like made the mandate to him and Safran is like, look, it didn't do good. Whatever you do, it has to be from scratch. Because he's their boss. Everyone's got a boss.
I think, Zaslav clearly, this is an old school Hollywood guy. This guy clearly knows what it takes. He knows what it takes to be successful, and he's not afraid to ruffle feathers. Well, clearly,
that's what I'm saying. Like
he's cutting stuff. He's doing stuff that's like people are ticked at him.
He could have got them on the phone easy, be like, "Look, movie didn't do good. You guys, new direction. Whatever you do, fresh start." And then that's what they had to do.
I think it was probably as simple as this is not performing. What is you guys' thought? Because he sat down, he took those guys and they had meetings with major directors and producers around Hollywood. Yeah, like big time guys. So they were clearly poking around and trying to figure out like, hey, we want to do the best. We want the next step forward. We want it to be the best one possible. And in the end, they clearly landed on what I think was the only real right decision, which is why I don't want to see them turn Flash into some sort of connective tissue. I just want them to stop and start.
You want no explanation. You want them to pull
dead stop. You don't need it.
An Edward Norton, Mark Ruffalo,
none of
Hulk
this
transition.
is going to have anything to do with anything. And they just need to reset the whole thing. They created such a cluster. It's such a mess. It's such an incoherent, just mess of a storyline. There's no through line anymore. That they just need to abandon it. They should have done that movies ago. But they just kept going, trying to salvage it because they didn't know where they were headed. They didn't have a sense of direction.
The fanboy in me is because you could still do that. Because I'm just thinking in my head, like, because we know with the Super Cavill being gone as Superman, Gunn announced that one of their first films straight out the gate is going to be a Superman film. It's not going to be an origin story, but it's going to be a younger Superman.
Right, younger Superman.
He is writing it and possibly directing. He is currently writing it. He may direct, he says, if he has time as the new co-head of DC Studios. So that's one of the first ones. So I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, it would still be kind of cool. Flash movie ends, new timeline, and that's how they introduce the new Superman going forward. They don't tweet a picture. They don't announce who's playing him. The movie literally ends, because then you could also get people they could also try to recoup some money, because it would also, once word gets around, don't announce it beforehand. Once word gets around that the reveal is at the end of that movie to set up the future, that's a good way to, because you're capping that out, and then you're also revealing like this is the future that is gone.
I think we're going to get the answer to that here pretty soon. Well, I mean, Gunn already said that they're going to start announcing some of their
January
plans, in the beginning of the year, or sometime in the year, early in the year. But even if the plans that they do announce are vague, we'll get the answer to that if they don't swap Aquaman and the Flash, because it is almost. Based on what Gunn and
what if they just don't release it? They're finally like, they're talking about it. They're like, we're not going to do it. That's scrapped.
Dude, is that not what I said to you? That was what I said. I said that would be to me. That's a mistake. Just don't say anything. Say nothing. Just say, hey, we've got huge plans that we're working on.
That would make me
wait till like San
upset.
Diego Comic-Con.
That would make me upset because I know a lot of people are like boycott Flash, boycott. Yes, because Ezra Miller, douchebag. We could all agree shouldn't be the Flash anymore. Kick him out. Go away. But I think it's also unfair to everyone else in the film, like Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
So I still want, because it's like one of those things. It's like, so everyone who made that movie, all the behind the scenes, the cast, the crew has to suffer because one idiot.
I don't think it's there. I don't think people are going to suffer any more than they are.
I'm saying because people are boycott. Because I don't know.
The reality is that there's a mess, and people
it's a sticky situation.
Yeah, people are like tired of it, and people are very weary of it, and it's just like kind of like who cares already for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, and it's now knowing that there's going to be total disruption. Is Warner Brothers really going to go back and invest in more shooting, more pickup shots?
You know what I want to know? If they don't cancel Flash, how bad was Batgirl for them to actually think about it? Like, for real.
It's true.
For real. If they don't cancel the Flash with all the crap that Ezra Miller had, the dark cloud he put over that franchise being the idiot he is, how bad was Batgirl?
Yeah.
Or what? Because that's speculation. Obviously, I don't know. You don't know. It's all speculation. But like, what was the catalyst that they're like, this is done? We just got to do VFX and we just got it's shot. We just got to do all the post. What triggered them being like, we're gonna take the $150 million loss. We're just gonna take it.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because I don't think people are talking about that. It's like if they release the Flash, but not Batgirl. What was the difference? What is the catalyst there?
And people are gonna get mad at me. I don't care. Whatever. For the Batgirl movie, it was one of the first signs for me that Zaslav was gonna give DC the best chance of being successful.
You think he just watched it and pissed him off, so he's like, it's out.
Yeah,
it's out.
It's just that he clearly is looking to make things quality and release things quality, and he doesn't want to go like a year from now and still be dealing with what the previous regime was doing that he knows is not successful. It's not going to lead to success for the studio.
Yeah,
he wants to clear the decks, and if that means taking a hit and having to cut some things elsewhere to be able to absorb that so we can start off on a better foot faster, then let's do that. And that to me is smart.
To be fair, I'm sitting and thinking about it. It probably, as I think about what the movie was about, because the Batgirl was to take place after the Flash.
Right.
Keaton was also supposed to be in there.
Right.
So I think this was just pushing that Snyder new mantle verse, forward, where speculation was that the Supergirl in this movie and the Batgirl were going to be like the new Batman and Superman going forward.
It was just prolonging.
And he's probably like, no, this is out. No, this is just going to perpetuate this thing that I don't want to keep doing.
Which furthers,
so that probably could be a big reason or the reason why.
And that furthers my point that I was making earlier, that I think Zaslav knew earlier on in the year that he wanted to move in a new direction and that he was bringing in some new blood.
Or at least the Batgirl cut.
Yeah. I mean, Safran is from inside the house, but Gunn, he's the new blood. I mean, he did Suicide Squad, but and Peacemaker.
Which apparently rumor is it's gonna turn into a legacy series. Which of course, everything's getting canceled, but the series that Gunn is writing and directing, that will just be legacy.
Well, that was successful for them.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was successful for them. So that's not surprising.
But it's also he's writing. He writes and directs. That's his baby.
He just so happens to have. I mean, he wouldn't have gotten hired. He wouldn't have gotten hired if the Peacemaker wasn't as successful.
It's really good. But you could do the whole of course, because it's his. He's not going to cancel his own project. Yeah. It's just going to be legacy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've got a big task. Safran and Gunn. They have a huge task. And
because but the Justice League literally. Aquaman and Ezra Miller Flash were on the last episode of the finale. Right. So it's a direct connect. So going forward, you either have to cancel it or legacy. Because it's so tied in. Momoa and Ezra Miller were literally in a scene.
I think it can literally, because of what Peacemaker is, I think it could literally be as simple as you go forward and you have new Justice League and you do Deadpool style jokes about it.
But he doesn't break the fourth wall or anything like that.
No,
though.
but no, I don't say talk to the camera, but you're making jokes about things from within your own universe.
And the fans will just forgive it because we like it so much.
Yeah,
It's good.
just and it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny,
Like, yeah, we'll keep
cell
it.
phone, that sort of thing. So I for me, and who knows what they're going to end up doing, but for me, just stop, just full stop. We know you're moving forward in the long run, even though there's a lot of people that are very mad, most and understandably, and I think fairly, are upset about what's happened with Henry Cavill. But can we stop with the petitions, by the way? For
The
the love
hashtags.
of God. Can we, guys, doing a petition on change.org does not, it's not in any way force Warner Brothers to make your movie. It just doesn't work that way. Can we stop with the freaking petition?
I'll tell you what, the releasing the Snyder Cut was the best / worst thing that ever happened for Warner Brothers because now they're like, it works. So now they think they could do that with everything. It worked once, we could do it again.
Yeah, the difference.
What's that movie, Little Giants? Remember Little Giants?
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because if you even beat them once, you still beat them one time.
time.
If you out of a million times, there's still one time.
The difference with that, though, is you had a big-time director, producer,
But the circumstances were very
inside
different, too.
baseball, pushing the envelope behind the scenes, and it was totally different.
Yeah, like the way he left that movie, because that was like...
Yeah, he left it because of a tragedy in his family.
Yeah, that was just horrible.
And DC never recovered from that.
No, there was reports coming in from inside that they literally said, people who worked for Warner Brothers saying that was like one of the best, I was basically quoting them, that was the best decision they ever made because now they just keep getting bombarded. People want Justice League 2,
Yep.
and now with everything they do, they're like, release the Ayer cut.
Yep.
Give us HBO, give us the Batgirl movie directly to HBO. Like they just want all these things now, and it's like that was a special occasion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and at the time I was just like, hey, congratulations to all of you who were persistent.
I mean,
And-
I'm glad I got to see it. Yeah.
Again, that would not have happened if Zack Snyder wasn't the leading catalyst.
Oh, for sure.
That's why I say it was different. You had the filmmaker himself was the driving catalyst
releasing
for that
pictures
movement.
like on social
Yes,
media every now and
he
then.
was- He
Look
was
what you
the
could
real
see.
reason why that movement was kept getting fueled and was prolonged as long as it was.
Well, he was
And
literally
it was
throwing fuel on
sustained.
he was throwing fuel on the fire.
He was constantly feeding new information. He was behind the scenes trying
Martian Manhunter was going to be
to
in it.
nudge.
Look at what I did with Jon Stewart,
Yeah.
Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Look at this Batman costume.
Yeah, you're not going to have that with any of this stuff going forward. And frankly, that was such a one-off.
It was kind of cool though to see that. Like just at Hollywood in general, like the fact that we have two versions of the same movie, that's never happened before.
No.
Like that, not even just superhero movie, like just Hollywood in general. That's not a thing. And now there's the one time.
One time. But it will be very interesting to see what happens going forward. I'm going to be very interested to see how the Rock's people handle this going forward, because this is a huge. This was a punch in the balls.
He went silent for 3
his
days.
brand.
I've been tracking him on social media now because I was so curious.
Has he said anything? I haven't been
he
able
went
to watch.
quiet for 3 days, didn't make a post, but now he's just making posts ignoring it, like posts about like.
I did see that he unfollowed DC, Black
That's
Adam,
not
Warner
true.
Brothers.
That's not true.
So
actually.
that it turned out to be untrue.
He actually tweeted to the news source that did that, which was one of the interviewers from comicbook.com, and he was like, "That's not true. I never followed them." At which point the interviewer was like, "Oh my God, my bad," and deleted the tweet. So unless the Rock,
that was all.
unless the Rock is lying, but there's screenshots you could see the Rock literally said that's not true. I just never followed them, and then the guy was like, and sorry Rock, and deleted the tweet.
and by that it means I don't want to challenge the Rock, so I'm not going to look at this any further. Yeah. Well, who knows? Okay, so maybe not then. I didn't look into it that deeply. I just saw the headline of it.
Yeah, I just saw a feed like yesterday or whatever. But I was gonna say something else. What was it? I was gonna say something. Something led into that. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I will be watching to see how this all plays out because
it was the he went silent. That's where
right.
He went silent. He's been posting on social media like about his daughter's birthday and stuff, and then his show Young Rock. So he's just ignoring it. I guess they're waiting to see how things. I'm sure they're two camps.
What they're doing is they're running it through 752 PR firms and trying to strategize how to move forward. Because, he made such from even
I wonder if
I would be
a little
so
upset
much more forgiving
at him
with the whole thing, like with what Rock's participation in it, if he wasn't so cocky about it. like when it was going down. It's one of the things when he went on to the Tonight Show and he announced Henry Cavill. That was one of the things I was just like, it was so.
My favorite thing.
It was like, why do that? He was so like kind of just smug about it. Like he was saving DC single-handedly. And I was like, you don't even know how this is going to play out, dude.
You see people on social media, Rock, get Superman back. Rock, save DC. And I'm just like, I get he's a big movie star and all, but like, you don't know how Hollywood works. Like, he's got bosses, bro. Like, who do you think hires him for these movies? Like, Zaslav is like literally the head of a studio. He tells The Rock what to do. He's the one signing his check. So I'm like, The Rock could only do so much. Like, sure.
I mean, it's not quite that cut and dry.
I mean,
someone like The Rock has his own production company. He's a huge player in Hollywood. He's also the largest star on the planet.
He is.
And those guys carry unbelievable amounts of leverage. And if they want to, you push those guys the wrong direction, they can cause major problems for studios.
They could. But going back to Zaslav, like you said earlier, old school, I don't think he cares at all.
No,
he's like, is it gonna make me money?
No.
Okay, then no.
Yeah, I don't think that he doesn't care. I think he probably had a private meeting with The Rock early on. Because you don't do that. Like, this is not going to be a situation. I would, in my opinion, this is not going to be a situation where Zaslav did some sort of like 1930s Hollywood.
No.
Like, you're never going to work in this town again, kid. Like, that's not a thing.
I'm being
like,
very,
he likely had a private meeting with The Rock, with Dwayne Johnson, and said, look, this is what we're looking to do. We really appreciate everything that you were trying to bring to the table, but we really need to start. And that was probably the discussion where The Rock was saying, let me show you that we can make this a success. And I don't know that. I'm saying that's what it seems like something like that could have happened.
That's true.
Because of the way that everything went down, it makes the most sense in my mind.
I was just making a more playful version because, clearly he couldn't do that. But that's a very nice way of saying, you don't make me money, we don't move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But honest to God, I mean, there's been some celebrities and stars who have gotten studio executives fired.
That is true.
In the past, where they,
I know there's people, we've heard stories of Michael Bay.
Yeah, because in the end, if you're the weight that's bringing people's butts to the seats, you know what I mean? And you say, hey, I'm not working with that guy, so I'll go to Universal.
It's clear, but there's no shot though. I bring that up. There's no shot that The Rock is saving it now. That's all I'm saying. Like, there's no way he's convincing Gunn, Zaslav, or anyone to be like, one more time. Come on, just come on, like, put me in Shazam.
No, and that's what's interesting is we have not heard, and the other thing I'm going to be watching to see is what are they going to do with Shazam?
Oh, everything's gone. This is the last run. This last year, it's just over. That's it.
I wonder if that's going to mean Shazam as well. What's his face as Shazam? I mean,
no, yes, everything. That means like freaking. I think the only one who possibly has a chance is Blue Beetle, and that's because we haven't seen him yet, so they could easily reshoot or shape it to fit into Gunn's plans going forward. Unless
if they're going to do, let's say, because if they're doing Peacemaker as a legacy series, which not surprisingly they're going to.
Rumor, that's a rumor. I just want to say that's not confirmed.
I wonder if they'll have some of these things as like little one shots, like the Blue Beetle series. Let it be off on its own. Pull out anything that connects it to the broader universe.
I've been following Gunn very closely because he's been tweeting almost every day, and everything he said and even alluded to makes it this 2023. That's the last you'll see of the Snyderverse. It's the like Flash done, Aquaman done, Shazam done, Blue Beetle possibly done. That's the one that's up in the air. It seems because we haven't.
So he officially said that Shazam is done.
Not that, no. He just said the DC universe is getting rebooted, and Hollywood reporters even saying that we're getting a whole new Justice League. So that would lead one to believe.
Well, I'm specifically talking about. I wonder if that means that Zachary Levi will be recast, like his Shazam.
Oh yeah,
him as Shazam.
I think so.
He's out.
Yeah, I mean, he was ultimately going to be part of the Justice League, and they flat out said, Hollywood Reporter saying they're recasting the whole Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again.
The only reason I'm wondering that is because he was disconnected enough from the rest of the films to where
Ben Affleck's
could
battering
arguably
in the first one.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just like the only time that you had Superman and you didn't even show his face.
I think if you're going to reboot, you just need to reboot. Don't keep pieces here and
I'm
there.
fine
like,
with
just get it, go. And everything that's alluded to seems like that. Because then you would just be doing what I said a long time ago, do the Flashpoint thing, which I think could have worked too, where you do keep Cavill and pieces they liked and just explain that going forward. I still think that would have worked, and I would have liked to see that. But this also makes it's the rebooting completely from again, taking my fanboy out of it as a businessman makes the most sense. You don't have to worry about how to fit this in. Just he wants to do his own thing from scratch, so I get it.
And they're putting together a 10-year plan. Even though they had signed a 4-year contract, they're putting together a 10-year plan, which is fantastic. They're doing exactly what we've been saying on this show for going on 3 years now, that they needed to do a long time ago. And it's finally happening. They're finally resetting everything. The only and greatest disappointment of this entire thing is Henry Cavill as Superman. We are losing Henry Cavill as
Gal
Superman.
Gadot, Wonder Woman, though. I really liked her as Wonder Woman.
Gal Gadot was as Wonder Woman.
Really liked her.
She was great as Wonder Woman, but
and Ben Affleck,
the last Wonder Woman was not that. It was not good.
But she as Wonder Woman,
Wonder Woman is good. But that's not for me. That's not as big a loss as Henry Cavill's Superman. Primarily because we never got to see Henry Cavill's Superman meet his full potential.
Yeah, he
really got shafted,
a really
and
good
he was
script,
a great Superman. And we never got to see him.
Ben Affleck Batman though too. He's supposed to get a freaking solo movie.
True.
Like, given I'm not. I would change things. Obviously, like how Snyder made him like an older Batman who just he's jaded, so he kills and stuff like that. I would change obviously that aspect and stuff. But like, I still think leaps and bounds is the best looking Batman. As far as Batsuit,
cool
Batcave, Batmobile, all that stuff. I think he did good. He was a great Bruce Wayne as well. So that's sad.
Yeah.
But I mean, c'est la vie, I suppose.
Yeah. and I'll be very curious. I fully support what they're doing, and I'm be very curious to see once they finally announce the actual slate or the beginnings of a slate of what direction they're going to be taking. I mean, he's been teasing everything from Kingdom Come.
I think it's going to be as basic as something as Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Just start with the Trinity and go forward.
That was what Zaslav said.
That's why I'm guessing that, because he said those. You said those are the pillars in that meeting. It was recorded. You can go Google it or YouTube it of him saying our foundation needs to be Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and then you build out from there.
Yep.
But DC is also going to be. It's going to be kind of cool because you're going to have the connected universe. It's finally going to be cohesive because Gunn, he comes from the Marvel camp. He knows how to do make everything synergy.
I mean, knows their playbook.
But they're also going to have things that aren't in continuity. They're going to have Matt Reeves doing his Batman verse.
He did confirm after it was rumored that he was going to bring it into continuity.
Yeah, he debunked that quickly. And apparently,
James Gunn said nope.
Yeah, apparently one of the first calls he made was to Matt Reeves, I guess, to be like, listen, you're not fired. Which is, that's got to be a trip. Where you can do your thing. And then obviously Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker.
Right.
That's going to be its own thing too. So Marvel Studios hasn't done anything like that yet. Everything they do to date, as of now, is in continuity. Right. So DC is going to be like, yeah, we're going to have our universe, but we're also going to have things that are Elseworlds that like we could do whatever we want here, just like comic books.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And that's going to allow them to do a lot of things. If you want to bring, get a Quentin Tarantino version of like, I don't know, whatever character, they could do like a one-shot movie thing over there and it doesn't have to connect over here. So that's pretty interesting.
It's all very interesting. And now it feels very much like a fresh start. Well, it is a fresh start, but it kind of leaves hope now. Whereas before it was constantly this like, what is going on?
It's probably another reason, because now just from a PR standpoint, they could probably like spin it now to be like, this is a brand new thing. It's the new kid on the block. It's just all new. So like, who's Wonder Woman? Who's Green Lantern? Oh, you're doing this. Like, it's just all new hype now.
Yep. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in DC Comics, they're coming out with this initiative right at the exact same time as all this is happening with the new
reboot
DCU.
Every year, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but I'm wondering if there is any connectivity there. But we'll definitely see. I'm excited to see. Is there anything in particular that you're hoping to see come out of it in terms of what the new direction that they're going to take?
I would love a Green Lantern Corps movie. Like I think the Green Lanterns. I can't believe
long overdue.
It's one of the most has some of the greatest potential to do that. Obviously, like Superman, Batman, we've seen that so many times. I'm always going to want another Batman movie because I'm just a big Batman fan, so I would like to see his take. But it's stuff we haven't seen. Definitely Green Lanterns. Who else would be really, really cool that's like, it'd be cool like a Zatanna film. Or The Question, like a detective noir. The Question
would be amazing.
Bro, that would be really cool. Because there's been some rumors that Gunn's going to do some deep dives, like possibly like even a Mr. Terrific movie and stuff.
That's what he does.
Yeah. So I'm curious and excited.
But
Green Lantern and Question would probably be the two off the bat. Because The Question's basically just like a more noir, less martial arty Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what Gunn does with Superman. because he's
He's
writing
writing
it
it.
himself.
Yeah.
And that leads me to believe he will likely direct it,
Oddly enough, seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special and seeing like
which was great, by the way.
right, but just like the kind of how it was kind of heartfelt, and it got the whole Mantis thing with Star Lord. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but like how it was kind of heartwarming a little bit.
Yep.
Superman always supposed to be about hope and stuff like that. You kind of get a little glimpse of like, okay, you could do this emotional like this beacon of hope type thing.
Yep.
So I think he's definitely capable. I'm just curious to see if he's going to stick the landing.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. I'm definitely gonna be interested to see what they do with Superman. I agree with you. I think Green Lantern is the most untapped.
Bro, because that's like its own little universe too,
Yeah.
with all the different lantern corps, and then you do
So
the red
many
lanterns,
things.
the yellow lanterns. Oh man,
Sinestro. Yeah, I mean, there's just a
Yes.
ton of things that you can do. But I think both of us agree we're very supportive of the moves that are being made, and we're both excited.
for sure.
There's a lot of controversy and a lot of polarization around it.
As always.
Yeah, it's just like everything now, but we're both excited about it. But that leads us to the Disney side, Disney Marvel side, because Iger has returned
Mm-hmm.
as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Bob Chapek is out. It was effective immediately when they announced it. Disney has been under siege, lots and lots of turmoil going on over there for a variety of reasons. We're all familiar in geekdom with all the things that have been going on in Star Wars over the last, almost 10 years
since
now.
the original, the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. So, and then, it's kind of bled into Marvel. There's been a lot of, polarization within the Marvel camp, people
Mhm.
feel that are fans of Marvel. And the phase 4 of the MCU has been lackluster, and fans' responses has been
It's the least liked
ticking
phase.
down.
Yep.
Their animated films have not been performing for them. So they've been under all kinds of siege. Their parks went through a crazy time with the pandemic and the lockdowns and the closures and all that kind of stuff. So initially, Chapek was making cuts to try and, I guess, curb some of the financial hits that they took. And there was a lot of changes. And now they've brought Iger back to clean up. And one of the things that are going on under that change is there is lots of rumors and smoke that they are looking to reevaluate the direction of the MCU.
I think that like the most simplified way to say it just is they're saying they want quality over quantity now, because this phase was the most we've ever got. I think someone was saying like this was like 2 phases in one, or like someone was saying this is like we got more in phase 4 than we got like in the entirety of the Infinity Saga.
And there was no signs of that slowing down.
No, and I agree. I think I said it before. I don't know if I said it before. I definitely thought it. I think we need. I think I did say on one of the podcasts we did a while ago. We need like a break from Marvel. Like I would say, just stop making it Marvel for like a year. Marvel Studios need because you can't miss something if it's always there.
Yeah,
it's just too much. Like even like with your spouse, your wife, whatever. You're like, okay, but I'm gonna go hang out with the guys. See you in 2 days, because you just like, as much as you love your kids, your wife, what have you, you need that break. And it's the same thing with like something you love. As much as I love comics or video games or cards, whatever it may be, there comes a point where you're like, I'm gonna go like play baseball now, or I'm gonna go ride my bike or something different. You need that, like you can't just always be in it every day.
Yeah.
And I think Marvel's just been like, dude, it's just so much. It's even me, where like I'm like the biggest like nerd ever. I'm like, I love Marvel, but like I could go like a few months without something. So I think they kind of screwed the pooch there, which we were worried about when we said that a long time ago. We're like,
saturation.
That's a lot. Like again, you can't miss something if it's just always there. There's gonna be no hype if it's just always in your face, because you're like, you become used to it, like anything. Like if something's just always in your face, it's not fun and exciting anymore. It just becomes normal.
Right.
So I think, again, going to the stream, I was like, if Feige was like, we're going to take a break for a year, we're going to do stuff, I'd be like, dope. That's probably the best thing you could have done. So they're obviously not going to do that. But pulling back, if this all turns out to be true, I think, yeah, for sure. Because now I think the last 2 years we're getting 3 movies a year and like 4 or 5 Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's freaking crazy.
And
that's just
3 or
Marvel.
4.
That's just Marvel. In between all that, you got the Star Wars stuff, because that's what they're doing. They're alternating. It's like Marvel, Star Wars, Marvel, Star Wars. So yeah, I definitely, but Marvel's way more than Star Wars though too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I hope this is true, because I think a big complaint I've had, most people, is they took a quality dive just as far as VFX,
Big time.
even storytelling, all that stuff. It's like, maybe just stop pumping stuff instead of working on these 3 things, put all your people on this one thing, and then it'll be that much better. Take your time with it. So I hope this is true. I love Marvel. I'm not saying I want them to go away forever. I'm just saying it's a lot.
Yeah.
I could do with more space in between films and TV shows. Because, and if definitely if it means for the better of the show, like if you're saying it's going to improve quality, for sure, I'd rather wait than just be like, oh, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, whatever the heck it may be, because it's just like, I just want it to be good in the end. I just don't want quantity. Quantity. I want quality.
Yeah, and they were clearly having issues on the VFX side. They were clearly having issues in terms of generating the kind of quality on the VFX that fans had become accustomed to, and really that they should have for the budgets that they're putting into these things and for the caliber of studio that they've become. They should not be putting something out until everything is top quality. They should not. And the fact that was happening, it kind of, there's a mixture of factors there. A lot of it, they were under a lot of pressure because of what went on under the pandemic. You had 2 years of slate disruption that you had to try and salvage.
It's bad when Marvel comments on it themselves.
Right.
The finale of the She-Hulk, when they're talking to Kevin, like she says something about like, are we gonna do a VFX shot here? And like they make the joke where they can't because they're working on Wakanda Forever, where they play the Wakanda Forever like theme, the Black Panther theme, and it's like, so they're even kind of poking fun of it where it's like, we're short on VFX artists. So like if Marvel knows, then it's like maybe if you're self-aware, maybe you gotta bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah, and I do think that while that is absolutely true and a factor, and I have no doubt is a huge consideration in terms of them addressing the quality issue, I think that it's also a little bit of saving face of them saying like, oh, we're going to go for quality over quantity.
They got to spin it.
They got to spin it. It's a little bit of saving face because the other part of the reality is that fans, not all, some people loved it. But the numbers tell the tale, right? The numbers tell the tale. And if you look at the results,
Bill Burr say, follows the money. It follows the money.
Yes.
You go where the money goes.
That's exactly right. And, Disney was looking at the analytics and they were seeing that fans, satisfaction with the direction of the MCU from a story perspective, fans just weren't loving it. We just weren't digging the direction that they were headed. Yeah, overall. There were some things that were good. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. This is not a 100% blanket thing. But just the overall direction, fans weren't feeling it, especially after coming off that 10-year run of the Infinity that you got to try and, you know what I mean? It's like filling those shoes.
That was a big part too.
Yeah, it's a heavy lift.
Because it's like, how do you go out of Endgame, which was like one of the biggest spectacles in blockbuster history, not even just superheroes movies, just like that was like Lord of the Rings scale epic battle at the end of Endgame, where it's 10 years of building all these characters, Iron Man coming full circle, same thing with Captain America and stuff, like wrapping up all these stories we've been following for a decade.
Yeah.
And then you have to follow, like that was a daunting task.
Yeah.
Even Feige had to be like, all right, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah. And again, it's not one singular factor. That is another one. It was already a daunting task to begin with. You had the pandemic hit and that created all kinds of new problems. You got VFX, issues within the VFX industry.
It's like Tom Brady winning like, what is it? His 4th or 5th, whatever Super Bowl, like that last Super Bowl.
He's way past that.
Yeah, way past. Okay, whatever. I don't follow the NFL that much, guys. Okay, all right. I'm not into sports ball like some of you guys.
Sports ball. Wow. The man said sports ball right here in front of God and everybody.
I was being sarcastic. Okay, all right. Anyway, no, I don't. In all seriousness, I don't follow sports all that much. But point is, like Brady's the GOAT, right? He won like what was the last Super Bowl he won? It was like 6, 7.
I think it was his 7th.
Okay, he should have gone out. He did. He got on a high.
Yeah.
He didn't. So I'm not saying that Marvel Studios should have gone out at Endgame, but I'm saying you're at an all-time high. Like, that is peak. You have to keep going because you're a movie studio and you got to keep making these movies, but it's like, how? Like, how are you going to reach that again? That we were saying that back then. We were never said, like, how do you, like, it's so good. I can't even fault them for ever matching that again. Like, that's just like, that's all, because it also had like that special, like, I don't know, juju in there where it's like
Mhm.
that special thing where it's like, how do you can't even recreate that.
Casting choices,
Right,
story
it was
choice.
a perfect storm. So
Yeah.
I can't even blame them or be mad if they ever do something that caliber, because it's like, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's like almost once in a lifetime type stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that was the issue with fans. I think fans were, because I don't think anybody was expecting them to match it. And I think that if there was, I think that this is going to sound, this may sound mean, and it's not meant to be so, but I think fans were seeing a different effort put into the storytelling this time around.
I just realized something. I said I don't like sports. I was wearing a Florida Marlins hat. Now, and I know someone's gonna say something, so I'm just gonna.
I didn't notice it.
I'm gonna stop you right here, bud. All right, I'm gonna stop you right there.
This was a gift from my wife.
It was, but also growing up, I played Little League all the time. My dad got me a practice baseball hat, which was this exact hat. It was a black Florida Marlins hat. I know the youngins are like, Florida Marlins? It was the Miami Marlins. No. Back in the 90s, kids, it was the Florida Marlins, all right? So this is emotional attachment. My wife bought it for me all these years later. My dad got it for me, stuff like that. He passed, so she got this for me, and it's near to my heart. And I do like baseball. I follow a little bit of baseball, not NFL. So I just want to, just be like, you don't like sports and you're wearing a baseball hat? Quiet, okay? Quiet.
I will vouch. I will attest. Of the two, I am the sports fan.
Yeah.
That's
and I do
fun.
casually follow baseball. Casually, all right?
Yeah,
but more so than that, childhood
I really
attachment.
wish that it would have
Gift from my wife.
dawned on me that you were wearing a Florida Marlins hat.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, I know someone in the comments, whoever's watching this and not
funny.
listening, they're going to say something. So I'm like, let me just stop you there.
Amazing.
Anyway.
But yeah, so they were never going to fill those shoes. And I don't think fans were expecting them to do that. I think a large part of the issue was fans were feeling like the same attention to detail was not being paid this time around. And this new kind of phase or era of Marvel, the MCU rather, whether you agree or you don't agree, there was a lot more ideological and political leanings this time around, and that is whatever side you land on, that's going to affect some group, right?
Right.
When you're more soapboxy about something, the people that don't agree with that, whatever it is that you're espousing, you're going to start to lose that group. Yeah.
Espousing.
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 Is that a dollar word?
Maybe like $1.50.
$1.50. It's a solid word.
Yeah, $1.25. It's $1.25. It's more. It's a little amount.
I just want to say it sounded fun to say.
Say it.
Espousing.
Yeah, see?
Espousing.
It's like San Francisco.
I've heard the word before, but I've never said it.
Francisco.
Espousing. Francisco. That's another. You know what's a really fun word to say? It's a name, actually. Veronica.
Wow.
You have to say it like that.
I feel like you practice that one in the mirror.
It's a word that I used to. Let's get into a little bit of personal life right here. It's a word I used to bother my wife. Like I'm like it's like everyone's married, you got a girlfriend, you just mess around with your spouse or wife to make her really jealous. It's like, yeah, but if her name was Veronica, then it just works. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, Veronica. It's just like you could say it that way. It's just funny.
I feel like that's
say Veronica.
I feel like
say it
that's
that
gonna get looped.
Veronica. You say it's fun. Watch, they're saying it right now. They're like, he's right. It's a fun name to say. Or there's a Veronica who's like, oh my God, yeah, it is. That's my name.
This turned into a weird 5 minutes.
I'm tired, Tim. It's time to wrap up this year. Christmas is around the corner.
So it is Christmas. But yeah, I think that Marvel, I'm just like with DC. I think we are going to be seeing some changes. There's too much disruption. They fired the head of Disney Plus. That was one of the first things that happened when Iger came back in as CEO. So there's definitely more changes coming. What those will be and how heavy-handed the changes will be very interesting to watch, because they had just announced 5 and 6, a good chunk of both Phase 5 and 6, with more announcements yet to come. I mean, this year.
Remember when they announced Inhumans all the way back, and they're like, we're just gonna push that away.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be a movie.
I do feel like there's more room for change this time.
Yeah.
In terms of like what may happen, because if they start really toying with the direction of things, but they're like, okay, we're going to keep the Secret Wars through line, but we're going to start cutting stuff out, and we're going to, start cleaning up the timeline a little bit, make it a little bit tighter, less quantity, and focus more on, storytelling within the bigger films, and do maybe less Disney Plus series, let's say.
Yeah.
To just leave more room for error and blah, 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 blah. Or less room for error.
Disney Plus is really where, because that's where most of the content's been coming from Marvel Studios. That's what's really pushing them over the top. They're like, oh, TV shows are a lot easier to do than films. We could pump them out like that. And I think that's what really pushed them too much. They're like, yeah, but maybe back it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely see. And with Chris Hemsworth coming out, because again, I know some of you loved Thor: Love and Thunder. Both he and I just absolutely did not.
I don't believe them.
I'm kind of there with you. I'm kind of there with you. It's like, no.
It's fine.
No, you didn't.
Everyone, it's subjective. Everyone could it's your opinion. You're sure. But, no for me.
Yeah. That is a hard no. Listen, if you guys watched my reaction after we saw that movie,
I think as time goes on.
I was the first time that I have come on this show and I have said 100%. That can never happen again. That was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the point you were trying to make is even Hemsworth himself came out. Was like, if I come back as Thor, he literally was quoted saying, if I come back, well, I'm not. Okay, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I'm not going to quote. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing what he said was, if I come back as Thor, it will have to be different.
Yes.
Which is the very PC, nice way of saying, without getting in trouble by a studio, maybe that wasn't the best version of Thor.
But at the same time, you're kind of like, dude, this version of Thor was spearheaded by you and Taika.
But since he found out that it wasn't, that well received,
that stuff is like,
then he had to pivot.
Then have that. I'm like, have some self-awareness, have some humility, and just say, hey, we did this. It was fun for a minute, but it's time to move in a different direction.
Hollywood's so funny. Like I love, Hemsworth seems like a really nice dude, The Rock, but all these people, they have to spin it because it's their career, right? So like, for instance, in that he's like, yeah, that's why like the first two Thor movies were really like different and kind of cohesive. Then the second two Thor movies were, because I'm paraphrasing again, the second two Thor movies were kind of together and cohesive. So the next one, so like every 2 movies, we have to do a new version of Thor, and that's more or less what he was kind of saying, like try to spin it that way. It's like, that's why these are kind of similar, then these are kind of similar. It's like, or you're wanting to change it up a third time because the fan base was so split down the middle that you're like, if we do this again, we're going to lose money.
Dude, I don't even care. I do not care. The fan base was not nearly as split as some people wanted to make it seem. I think the more box people, office, again, I say it all the time, the numbers tell the tale. That movie
follows the money.
Yeah.
You got to follow the money.
The money told the story. Fans were not digging what they were throwing down.
Bill Burr. But that's a funny guy. It's funny. Everything now, because it's what that bit, if you guys listen to Bill Burr, you know what I'm talking about. That bit he was doing with that translates so well to Hollywood and anything. It's like, it's true, because it's like,
they're only business.
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I think is really, really funny. You're like, no, it's like, yeah, but like, what's the whole point of a business? To turn a profit, right? Okay, so if you're not making a profit, you can't be a business. So they got to go where the money goes.
Yeah, and it's like, and when people will say, no, that's a cold hard. It's like, oh, really? Do you like having a job? Do you like paying your bills? Like, how do you think that happens, man? So yeah, you don't want to take that too far and turn it into like, corrupt greed and stuff like that, but just basic business money principles have to apply if you want to keep the doors on, open and the lights on.
And somehow Love and Thunder still made more than Black Adam.
Oh, that was a
I
low
think
blow.
Objectively,
dude,
you could say Black Adam is leaps and bounds better.
You just slid all risky business style down underneath the rock and uppercut, how's your uncle right to the
because objectively Black Adam is better than Love and Thunder for me, at least.
Without any hesitation.
I'll say objectively, but for the people
Black Adam was better.
Black Adam, and man,
yeah. But that shows you how much further the MCU was still ahead of DC.
Because they were coming off Ragnarok, and a lot of people really liked Ragnarok, so they were hoping, and then they're like, "Oh, you went too goofy. Okay, never mind."
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whatever. So big changes coming for both Marvel and DC, and that's in both the films, then their cinematic worlds, as well as the comics. Both of them are looking to branch out. We actually have already shot our everything we're looking forward to in 2023 episode, which will air for all of you guys on New Year's Day, actually. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be talking about all the big stuff coming to Geekdom in 2023. We're going to go through everything from the MCU to the DC universe.
Oh, it's hard to freaking research all that junk, man.
It's a lot happening.
I couldn't believe the stuff.
And some of the stuff, because of what's going on with DC, some of it we had to take out because it no longer applies, especially the Henry Cavill stuff.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
So I had to pull that out. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to have obviously regular content for you guys all throughout the new year, and we will be back.
Maybe.
In the new year. Not podcast. Podcast will be back in the new year, probably the second week of the new year.
Don't give a date. Don't give a date.
I'm not giving a date. I'm not giving a date. But we'll be back in the new year. But this will be the last. You will hear from him and I together until 2023.
Yes. Factual. But on that note, guys, we'll see you next year.
Yeah. Well, I will say before we go, Merry Christmas.
That's right. Merry Christmas and
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year.
Happy New Year. We wish all of you the absolute best.
Hanukkah,
Thank you.
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa, whatever you
Yes.
celebrate. Enjoy the holidays with your families. And thank you a million times over for all of your support and for hanging with us once again in 2022. As we always say, we could never do what we do without all of you.
Without you, there is no us.
That's right. That's like our Mr. Rogers.
It is.
Mr. Rogers moment. Now we can say goodbye.
All right. With that said, we'll see you next year. We talk about all things comics.